The room sparkled with golden candlelight and curated admiration. There were speeches, applause, laughter on cue. Glasses clinked as Robert Holloway made his way through the ballroom, a soft jazz quartet humming in the background. Everyone was there to celebrate him 40 years of leadership, success, and apparently, solo brilliance. I sat at the third table from the stage, somewhere between the perfectly chilled shrimp cocktail and a woman named Margaret who introduced herself as the wife of Robert's protégé. No one asked who I was. They assumed, and I let them. I adjusted the sleeves of my navy blue dress. It was the same color as the one I wore at Robert's first promotion dinner, back when we were both nobodies and couldn't afford tablecloths that weren't plastic. This one cost 4 times as much, but somehow felt emptier. Robert stood tall beside the podium, greeting his colleagues with practiced ease. His silver hair, still full, gave him that statesmanlike air. He looked every bit the man of the hour, confident, admired, completely, utterly, self-contained. Like he'd built this empire all by himself. The word floated in the air more than once. Self-made. Visionary. An example to young men everywhere. I smiled politely, clapped when expected, took small sips of wine that didn't quite settle. 40 years. 40 years of early mornings, late-night laundry, birthday parties where I played both parents because he was too close to landing the deal. 40 years of giving him the silence he needed to focus, the space he needed to grow, and the applause he never once thought to turn back toward me. "You must be so proud," Margaret said again, her pearl necklace catching the warm light. I nodded. "I am." What I didn't say was that I wasn't sure who I was proud of Robert, or the version of me that had survived being his shadow. Then the music dimmed. Robert's boss, Harold Preston, the company's CEO, took the stage with a beaming smile. "I've had the honor of working with many great minds," he said, "but Robert is one of a kind, a true self-made man." A few people around me clapped. I felt my heart tighten, not out of jealousy, but out of something colder. Emptiness. Like a vacuum pulling everything I had done, every quiet sacrifice, into a black hole no one even noticed. I turned my gaze to Robert. He stood beside Harold, smiling, not looking for me, not even glancing. I had been the night light in every dark hallway of his career. But when the spotlight finally arrived, it didn't turn my way. It never had. My eyes stung, but I didn't blink. I looked around the room. So many of these women, wives of partners, secretaries, old friends, they clapped with forced joy. I could see it in the stiff tilt of their chins. They had their own silences. And suddenly, I realized. I didn't want to be invisible anymore. Not tonight. Harold raised his glass. "To Robert Holloway, may retirement treat him half as well as he's treated this company." The room rose in a standing ovation. I rose too, but not to clap. I stepped away from the table, walked steadily toward the stage. I saw Robert's eyes widen. He turned, uncertain, then forced a smile as I approached. "Evelyn?" he said, microphone halfway lowered. "Don't worry," I whispered. "I'll be brief." I turned to the crowd. My heart pounded against my ribs like it hadn't in decades. But my voice was clear. "For 40 years, I've stood by this man," I began. "Through every late night, every missed dinner, every quiet moment he needed to get here." There was a hush. While Robert built his empire, I held up the roof of our home. I raised our daughters when he was chasing contracts. I worked night shifts to help him finish his MBA. I ironed his shirts before every big pitch. And I cheered the loudest when he won. Even when no one knew I was cheering at all. I heard someone gasp. Maybe Margaret, maybe me. I've heard the word self-made more times tonight than in the last 4 decades combined, and I just wanted to say, he wouldn't have made it out of year 2 without me. I looked at Robert. He stood frozen. "So, if he is self-made," I continued, my voice soft but unwavering, "I must have been invisible." There was silence. The kind of silence that comes not from awkwardness but realization. I placed the mic gently on the podium. My hand didn't shake. And then I walked off stage, not back to my table. I walked out. Macy, have you ever felt invisible while someone else got all the praise? What would you do if your life's work was never acknowledged? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what Evelyn does next. Macy. The air outside the ballroom was thick with spring humidity and whispers that trailed behind me like perfume. I didn't look back. Behind those grand hotel doors, they were probably still frozen Robert trying to smile his way through the aftermath, Harold Preston likely regretting every word of self-made man, and the guests murmuring, buzzing, devouring the moment with hungry eyes. But out here, in the cool quiet of the hotel's terrace, I could breathe. My heels clicked softly on the stone floor as I leaned over the balcony, gripping the railing. The city lights flickered in the distance, and I let my shoulders drop not from defeat but release. For the first time in years, my body felt like it belonged to me again. My phone buzzed in my clutch. A message from our daughter, Rachel. Mom, did you really say that? Another message came seconds later. I'm proud of you. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred, and a tear slipped down my cheek, not from pain, but from something like healing. Behind me, the door creaked open. I didn't need to turn. I knew that gate, the way his shoes clicked too confidently. Robert. You could have said something, he said, his voice low, almost hushed. I did, I replied, still facing the skyline. Tonight. That wasn't fair. I turned now, slowly, my expression calm. Neither was forgetting me in every story you told about your success. He looked at me, blinking, as if trying to place me in his memory, not the woman he married, but the version of me that had stood silently beside him in every chapter of his career. You made me look small, he muttered. You did that, I said gently, when you told a room full of people that you did it all alone. He looked away, jaw clenched. It was a celebration. You embarrassed me. No, I said, stepping closer. I reminded you. That's different. He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. I'm not here to fight, Robert. I just wanted to be seen, that's all. He didn't know what to say, and for once, he didn't try to win the conversation. I'm going home, I said, adjusting the strap on my purse. We should talk. I smiled, just barely. Maybe we should have done that 30 years ago. I walked away again, and this time, he didn't follow. Macy. The next morning, the video was everywhere. Apparently, someone near the front had recorded my little speech and uploaded it with the title, Wife of the Year Shuts Down Self-Made Husband at Retirement Party. I opened it out of curiosity, expecting cringe, but it was strangely beautiful. My voice was calm, steady, my words honest. The comments were tidal wave. I'm crying. My mom could feed in her. How many women have held up lives they were never acknowledged in? She's not invisible anymore. She's iconic. It was surreal. I hadn't set out to make a statement. I just told the truth. But the truth, it turns out, had been waiting for someone to say it out loud. Macy. By noon, 3 old friends from college had texted. One of them, Marlon, hadn't spoken to me in a decade. Evelyn, I saw the video. You always had that fire in you. Let's catch up. And then a message that made me pause. It was from my daughter's former art teacher, now working at a local women's center. We're starting a mentorship program for women over Visikimenta rediscovering themselves after caregiving or long marriages. Would you come speak? Even just once? I stared at the screen, then reread it. Speak? Me? After all these years of silence? Macy. That evening, Robert returned home late. The house was dim. I turned off the hallway lights on purpose. I wanted silence, not tension, just stillness. He walked in, set down his briefcase, even though he no longer needed it, and looked at me across the living room. I got calls, he said simply. People asking what happened. I waited. And what did you say? He shrugged. That you wanted to be heard. I nodded slowly. That's true. I didn't know you felt that way. I tilted my head. Because you never asked. Silence stretched between us. He looked down, rubbed the back of his neck like he always did when cornered. I was going to thank you. I had something planned. No? I interrupted. You didn't. And it's okay. You didn't think you needed to. That's the point. He sighed. Do we come back from this? I stared at him. I don't know, I said softly. But I'm finally starting to come back to myself, and that's what I care about right now. He swallowed hard. I never meant to make you feel invisible. But I was, I said. And you were too busy being seen to notice. Mace. That night, I sat down with my old leather-bound journal. I flipped to a blank page. And I wrote, Deux. I took the mic. I'm not giving it back. Mace. 3 days after the retirement party, I sat across from a group of women I had never met, all of us huddled in the back room of a modest community center painted in soft yellows and dusty pinks. The folding chairs creaked beneath us, but the room buzzed with something I hadn't felt in years. Recognition. You're her, aren't you? A woman named Cheryl asked. Her voice was low, but warm. The one from the video, with the mic. He nodded. I didn't plan for it to go viral. She smiled. But it did. And you said what we all wished we could say. Around the circle, heads nodded, women in their visicamentes, kusikamentas, even saitsamensamentas. Some wore cardigans with frayed cuffs, others wore quiet pearls that hadn't seen daylight since their husbands retired. They each held stories of lives lived in the background, of sacrifice, softness, and silence. That day, I shared mine. Not the elegant version I had trained myself to repeat at fundraisers and office holiday parties. No, this was the real one. The one with the missed dreams, the unpublished poems, the paintings buried under piles of school forms and dry cleaning receipts. They listened. And then, they spoke too. One had given up a career in architecture to follow her husband's military postings. Another had been the primary caregiver to her mother-in-law for 12 years, while her own health declined. Another had dreamed of becoming a writer, but only ever wrote in birthday cards and grocery lists. We weren't bitter. We were tired and ready. Ready to become more than shadows behind successful men. Later that night, I came home to find Robert in the kitchen. He was making spaghetti. I blinked. You're cooking. He looked up, sheepish. Trying. The sauce was from a jar, the noodles overcooked. But it was the first time he'd prepared anything for me in years without a holiday or a sickbed involved. I thought maybe we could talk, he said, placing 2 plates on the table. Isat. He pushed a glass of wine toward me. I watched the video again. My stomach tightened, but I didn't flinch. Okay. I think I missed a lot. I waited. He stared at his plate. You were there, always. And I acted like that was the same thing as appreciating you. But it's not. No, I said. It's not. He swallowed. I don't want to lose you. I breathed slowly, letting the words settle like dust. I'm not sure you ever really had me, Robert. Not the real me. His eyes glistened, just a little. Can I get to know her now? The question startled me. Not because it was sweet, but because it was so late. And yet, somehow, I wasn't angry. Just unsure. I don't know, I answered honestly. But I know I'm finally ready to know myself. That comes first. That night, I pulled out an old canvas from the garage. Dusty, warped at the corners. My brushes were stiff, but my fingers remembered. I painted. Nothing fancy. Just color, movement, emotion. I painted myself with a microphone. Not glamorous, not flawless, but real, with silver strands in her hair, fire in her eyes, and a voice rising from a place long buried. The next morning, I took a photo of the painting and posted it with the caption, She waited 40 years. She's not waiting anymore. Within an hour, the post had over nolla likes. Someone messaged me, Do you sell your work? I'd love to feature it in our gallery. I blinked at the screen. Then I smiled. In the days that followed, something unexpected happened. Women strangers began emailing me. Their stories, their regrets, their dreams. One wrote, "I walked out of my marriage last week. Your words gave me courage." Another said, "You made me remember the girl I buried at Coxycuminta. And one simply wrote, "Thank you for proving we're not invisible." I hadn't meant to become anyone's symbol. But now that I had the mic, I wasn't giving it back. That weekend, Robert sat across from me on the porch. He held a printout of a workshop I'd been invited to speak at. Women Who Vanished, Rediscovering Ourselves After Vesicumenta. "You're going to do it?" he asked. I nodded. "I think I have to." He hesitated. "Would you mind if I came to watch?" I looked at him. "I don't need your support to do it," I said quietly. "But if you want to see the woman you never noticed, then yes, come." And then I smiled, not because I needed his approval, but because for the first time in 40 years, I had mine. May say. The lights were softer than I imagined. Not the harsh, blinding glare I always feared when thinking about public speaking, but a gentle glow that made the community center's stage feel almost intimate. The folding chairs were filled with women, dozens of them, some alone, some with daughters, some with walkers, others in bright lipstick and silk scarves like armor. I stood at the side of the stage, my notes in hand, but I knew I wouldn't need them, because this time, I wasn't delivering a speech someone else wrote. I wasn't reading a toast for a man. I wasn't being the suppurative wife. I was Evelyn, a woman who had disappeared behind a man for 40 years and decided not to stay vanished. The host of the event, a woman named Gladys, in her early Setsemancumentas with a voice like honey and steel, leaned in and whispered, "They've been waiting for you." And then she stepped back, and I stepped forward. The applause started before I said a word. I took a deep breath and let the silence settle. "I'm not a public speaker," I began, and a few women smiled, already relating. "But I am a woman who spent most of her adult life in the background, behind a podium I never touched, behind a man who never looked back to see if I was still walking beside him." He paused. "Let it land. I'm not here to blame anyone," I continued, "but I am here to tell the truth. And the truth is, a lot of us learned how to disappear." Heads nodded. Some women reached for tissues. "We learned to make ourselves small so our husbands could feel big." We said things like, "I'm just a mom," or "He's the ambitious one," or "I don't mind staying behind." And maybe, at the time, we didn't. Maybe we believed it was love. Maybe it really was. I stepped away from the podium, closer to them now. But somewhere along the line, we stopped being seen. Not just by them, but by ourselves. I told them about the retirement party, about the self-made speech, about the moment I took the mic and the silence that followed. And then I said something I hadn't even realized until the words left my lips. That moment didn't make me brave. It reminded me that I already was. The room went silent. And then someone stood. Then another. And another. A standing ovation, not the polite kind, not the golf clap of obligation, but the kind you feel in your chest. The kind that says, "I see you, I feel seen." When I stepped down, dozens of women came to me with hugs, business cards, trembling hands. One whispered, "I'm filing for divorce next week." I was so scared, but now I'm not. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. We didn't need microphones. We just needed to remember that our voices mattered. That night, I came home to find Robert sitting on the couch, his laptop open. He looked up. I watched the live stream. I raised an eyebrow. "You did?" He nodded. "You were amazing." I sat across from him, unsure what to say. After everything, I didn't know how to respond to praise from him. "I never thought I'd see you like that," he added. "But I'm glad I did." I crossed my arms gently. "That version of me always existed, Robert. You just never looked." He didn't argue, just nodded slowly. "I know." We sat in silence for a long while. It wasn't heavy, not like it used to be. It felt new, unwritten. "Do you think there's a way back?" he asked finally. I looked at him. "No," I said softly, "but I think there might be a way forward if we both start over, from the truth." He nodded. I'm willing to try. So am I replied, but not at the cost of disappearing again. He looked at me, serious. You don't ever have to disappear again. Not even for me. A week later, I received an invitation from a National Women's Leadership Summit. They had seen the video. Read my blog. Would I be willing to speak? I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I clicked accept. And I wrote one line in my journal that night. They gave me a mic. I'm going to hand it to every woman who forgot her own name. Macy. The conference ballroom in New York was nothing like the hotel back home. This space, grand, modern, buzzing with electricity, was filled, not with men in tailored suits celebrating each other's careers, but with women, older women, women with laugh lines earned through decades, women who had carried the invisible weight of families, marriages, businesses, grief, and dreams that were never spoken aloud. And they were all looking at me. It was my first keynote. The email had come just 10 days earlier. We watched your speech. We need more women like you on our stage. I had hesitated. Imposter syndrome had whispered its tired little warnings, but I had clicked yes. Now, here I was, Evelyn Holloway, 64 years old, widow in waiting in an aging marriage, former stay-at-home mother, standing behind a podium, with my name on a screen behind me, not as someone's wife, as me. I looked out into the crowd and saw a sea of women who looked like versions of myself, and then I began. My name is Evelyn Holloway. You may know me as the woman who took the mic at her husband's retirement party. But that's not the whole story. The truth is, I took that mic because I had been quiet for too long. I took it because I didn't know if I'd ever get another chance to be heard. I took it for every woman who's ever been thanked second, or not at all. For every woman who stayed home, stayed silent, stayed supportive until she didn't recognize herself in the mirror anymore. The room was still. Some women had their hands clasped over their mouths. Some cried openly. All listened. I don't believe in burning bridges for fun. But I do believe there comes a time in every woman's life when she has to stop crossing bridges she built for other people and build one for herself. He paused, let it land, and then I smiled. I'm not here to ask for recognition anymore. I'm here to give it to the women who carried this world in silence. The applause rolled in waves, and I stood there, not overwhelmed, not embarrassed, just seen. After the talk, a dozen women came up to me. A few asked for photos. One handed me a letter she said she'd written to her future self. But one conversation stuck with me. A woman in her Mentes, with short white curls and bright red lipstick, leaned in and said, "You know the thing about disappearing? Eventually, you forget you ever existed before him." She placed a hand on my shoulder. "But not anymore. I see you." And for the first time in my life, I whispered back, "I see me too." Back home, Robert picked me up from the airport. He held a bouquet of daisies, my favorite. I didn't ask if he remembered. I didn't need to. He smiled, a little awkwardly, like a man who's suddenly unsure of the woman he married. And I didn't mind, because I wasn't the woman he married anymore. "I read your speech," he said as we drove. "I watched the video twice. And?" He hesitated. "It hurt a little, but it also woke me up. I didn't realize how small your world had gotten to make room for mine. I looked out the window, the city passing by. I let it shrink. I thought that was love. And now? I think love might be letting each other grow, if it means outgrowing the life you built together." He was quiet for a while. Then he said, "Are we outgrowing each other, Evelyn?" I didn't answer right away. "I think we're growing separately. The question is whether we can learn to grow beside each other again." He nodded slowly. "If that's what you want, I'm willing to try." I smiled gently. "What I want is to never disappear again." He looked at me, then not just glanced, but really looked, like he hadn't in years. "You were never gone," he said softly. "I just never turned around." That weekend, I launched a small online series called The Mic is Yours. It was a space for women over 50 to share their stories, not stories of tragedy but of rising, of awakening, of late life beginnings. The first submission came from a woman in Vermont who'd gone back to school at Cusicumanticome. The second, from a widow in New Mexico who started a ceramic studio with her granddaughter. And then the third came from Robert. A short, handwritten letter emailed to the inbox. Dear Evelyn, I spent 40 years believing that leadership looked like power and money. Watching you step into yourself has taught me that real strength is standing in truth, especially when no one hands you the mic. Thank you for teaching me what courage looks like. Heartily. I sat with that letter in my hands, unsure what to do with the tears sliding down my cheeks. Not from regret, but from the strange, quiet peace that comes when you finally feel seen and respected, even if it comes late, even if you had to demand it. Mace. It was raining the day the publisher called. I was at the kitchen table, barefoot, hair in soft gray waves that I no longer felt the need to dye, wearing a robe with paint smudges from the little side project I'd been nurturing. Portraits of invisible women who had made themselves visible again. Evelyn, the voice said through the speaker, we want to publish your memoir. That speech went viral, your blogs exploded, and frankly, we've never seen this much demand from women over 50. I looked out the window, where the rain streaked across the glass like falling ink, and for the first time in my life, I didn't hesitate. Yes, I said, let's do it. That evening, Robert came home with Chinese takeout. He still hadn't quite learned to cook, but he tried. That I appreciated. We sat together at the dining table, some chairs we'd had for 20 years, but the silence between us had changed. Not strained, just respectful. I saw your newest blog post, he said. The one about choosing yourself. I sipped my tea. Did you agree with it? He considered. I agreed with most of it. The part about needing space to grow, that hit me. I nodded. I meant every word. He leaned forward slightly. Do you ever think there's still a version of us that works? I looked at him, really looked. This was the man I'd stood beside for 40 years. The one who'd overlooked me, the one who'd taken, the one who, somewhere along the way, forgot to say thank you. But also, the one who'd stayed to listen when I finally spoke. And that mattered. I think, I said slowly, there's a version of me that works with or without you. That's what I know for sure. He flinched, gently. But he didn't argue. I want to be in your life, he said, as your equal. Not as the man with the spotlight. I won't shrink to fit your frame anymore, I replied. I wouldn't ask you to, he whispered. I stood then and walked over to the living room where my painting sat and finished. A woman holding a microphone, her eyes on fire, her voice mid-song. I picked up the brush, and then, without looking back, I said, then let's find out what that version of us looks like. A year later, my book was released. The Woman Who Took the Mic. It hit the bestseller list within weeks. I toured small cities and big ones, reading excerpts to packed rooms filled with women holding hands, wiping tears, laughing in all the right places. They called me brave, but I always smiled and said, I was just tired of waiting. At one signing, a woman in her 80s leaned across the table and whispered, I waited 60 years to say how I really felt. You gave me permission to speak. That moment meant more than any 5-star review. Robert came to every reading he could. He sat in the back, never asked for a mention, never tried to own the story. He had learned. He was no longer the star of our marriage, and I was no longer the understudy. We were something else now. Two people walking alongside each other, not because we had to, but because we chose to, each day. With clear eyes, that was enough. The final chapter of my book read, sometimes you don't leave a man because he's cruel. You leave because he's comfortable, because you've curled yourself so tightly into his outline, you've forgotten you ever had one of your own. But if you're lucky and brave, you pick up a mic one day and you speak, not to be applauded, not to be famous, but because your voice, your life, your truth matters. And when you do, everything changes. You don't just become visible. You become whole. If you've ever spent years supporting someone else's spotlight, if you've ever felt like the background music in your own life story, Let this be your mic. What would you say if the world finally listened? Share your truth in the comments. And if Evelyn's story made you feel seen, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow this channel for more stories that celebrate the strength of women at every age. Your voice matters here. Always.